Well, today marks exactly 1 year since Justin Trudeau's Liberal government was sworn into power. Joining us now to chat about the Liberal hits and misses over this last year is CTV political analyst Scott Reid. He's also former Director of Communications to Prime Minister Paul Martin. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
I saw your name on the roster and I thought for sure we were talking about American politics.
That's what I
We're actually talking about Canadian politics.
Who remembered it was the 1 year anniversary when we got this crazy date coming up next Tuesday with America and maybe insanity.
And maybe, we'll get to that. How has the Prime Minister done so far?
I think if you're the Prime Minister, you can be pretty pleased with your first year in office. I mean, you have to go back a fair bit in history, and there have only been a few examples of anyone who's had such a blessed long honeymoon. In fact, there's arguments over whether, in fact, you can even call this a honeymoon because the extent of his support is so deep. It's actually grown during his first year in office. And there's a saying in politics, bleed or feed. Meaning, do you spend the first year bleeding your support, saying, well, I got a mandate, so why don't I get all the tough stuff out of the way before I have to face people with re-election? Or do I feed my support and do a bunch of the stuff, consolidate my position? They've clearly decided to feed.
And they're well-fed.
And they are well-fed. He is riding high in the polls. And the fact that he doesn't have an opposition leader that's really permanent helps him out a great deal.
Yeah. What about his cabinet ministers?
I think that, by and large, a bit of lower profile, but that's going to be true of most new governments. I mean, we haven't gotten to know the fame, the faces and all the jobs and all of that. And they've been out there sort of doing a bunch of consulting, work with their stakeholders, try it again, build a little bit of consensus so that when they come out with big second-year initiatives, there'll be some support for them. I think, by and large, you got to be pretty pleased with his cabinet because here's the rule of thumb. If you're not going to do good, don't do harm. And with a couple of modest exceptions, no one's been forced to resign in disgrace. There hasn't been any big controversies that's, dominated the House of Commons or newspaper headlines for 4 or 5 days in a row. They've managed, when they've had trouble, it's been quick, it's been short, and it's been contained.
There has been some criticism about the ministers attending these pricey events.
You bet. And that's a dialogue that's going to happen. I mean, it started here in Ontario. There's a large discussion about fundraising and how that works. It's happening now. It's bleeding to the federal sphere. How does fundraising happen? Are ministers permitted, should they be permitted, to hold an event, charge $200 a ticket or something and have people come and attend? This is actually not a new debate, though, right? I remember when I was in Ottawa 20 years ago, we got rid of a whole pile of rules and said no longer can corporations contribute $5,000, $10,000. So those rules have been changing over the years. They actually changed back under Harper in some respects. And one of the debates will be, well, what you could do to get money out of the system altogether is to pay parties. Every vote you get $1. And you go to what we used to have about a decade ago called the public subsidy system. So I think it's a debate worth watching.
Okay. Any minister stand out for you as having done an exceptional job?
I think your defense minister, although we haven't had a lot of action on the world stage, has done a strong job. And now we've got this mission that we're going to be doing for the UN. So I think keep an eye on him. I think our health minister, although she got into a little bit of controversy, when you talk to people in Ottawa, they cannot stop saying good things about Jane Philpott, the way that she handles herself around a cabinet table, the way that she manages the machinery of government, and the way that she deals with her own stakeholders in healthcare. So watch her. She also had a misstep. So which way is she going to go in the years to come? More missteps or more of all the great talk you hear? And I think if I was going to single out one person, it'd be Ralph Goodale. Ralph Goodale's been there since the 1970s. He has steady hands. And that very delicate public security portfolio he's handling, he's just put out a big paper, talked about what changes we should make on national security, trying to find all those awkward balances between our civil liberties, but on the other hand, our capacity to protect ourselves nationally and collectively. I think he's been just as flat as a plate of soup for this government, and that's exactly what you want out of a cabinet minister.
That's what you want. All right. And you're part of the election coverage on Tuesday night right here on CTV News Channel.
You bet. I can't wait. It is going to be gobsplastic, entertainingly interesting.
No sleep.
No sleep, and
Nope.
And I would not take a bet. I know everybody thinks Hillary's going to win by a mile. I wouldn't take a bet for $1 on the outcome of this election. I think it's really
$1?
trending Trump.
Stop.
I'm telling you, trending Trump. And I'm not saying he's going to win, but it's trending Trump.
All right, we heard it here. I'm not saying anything. Scott Reid, thank you. Always a pleasure to see you.
See you, my friend.